everybody. Good Thursday morning to you. Come on, put a smile on your face. Wherever you are, we say good morning to those of you in GBN television in particular. We are in the second hour of the mid-morning buzz for today, Thursday, March 12th, 2020. All those of you joining us on the social media platforms, good morning to you as well. And this morning it is an absolute pleasure to have two remarkable Grenadian women here with me. As we are in the month of March, International Women's Day just went on Sunday, but it is such a joy to have these two individuals here. Of course, they contribute greatly to the life of Grenada in terms of art and entertainment and health and energy and good vibes and everything else. So from the Laboucan Creative Center, we welcome one of its executive directors, Mrs. Ann Peters, Auntie Ann as we all call her, and the lovely Laura Lisa Richardson.
Good morning, good morning,
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Pleasant good morning to you, Auntie Brenda.
It's a pleasant good morning, Auntie Ann. It's so nice to have you here. You and Uncle you who does just figure all you could just not wake up in the morning and y'all are night owls and y'all just roaming in the night, and it's so nice to have you here in the morning.
I have to investigate you. What have you have a drone or something?
No, Uncle you just tell me that.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
talk the truth.
I back off.
Yes, so Laboucan Creative Center, you're doing so much wonderful things across there. I know, when you put a center together, you came, you tell us all that was happening. So bring us up to speed.
Well, a lot of things are happening. As a matter of fact, we have been certified by NTA. I think when we started out, there were some areas we were doing. Now we are certified to deliver 7 specific areas of training.
No.
A lot of them are in the creative industry. So we're doing live sound engineering, audio recording, community cultural performance, which is performing arts. I can't remember the others. We also do the allied health programs. So we do geriatric care levels 2 and 3, which is targeted mainly to managers of institutions and so on.
Wow.
So we're certified to do that. We are currently getting ready to graduate our first big group of people in the performing arts. And I have one of the successful ladies sitting right here on my right. As a matter of fact, a lot of times young people think the creative industry or the arts is just for fun. But it is much broader than that, and I guess Laura Lisa will share with colleagues like herself the benefits that she would have gotten from the program. But they do a lot of work. They learn how to do research. They have to learn about history of Grenada, the geography, the culture, the folklore, the herbal medicines, all of these things. They have to do it. It's part of who we are. So they are now being assessed. They've done their practicum already, and they're now getting ready to complete the final phase of their assessment. And when they're finished, they would get their level 2 CVQ. And they will also get what is called unit certificates because they would have done some electives with us.
Okay.
So it's a comprehensive program, and we want to encourage young people to do the program because it broadens your horizon and it helps you to develop.
Right.
So we're doing a lot of that. In addition to that, Brenda, we do a lot of individual workshops with people. I'm not even sure that you know that, but we do help people to develop voice and speech techniques, particularly people in broadcast, people on radio. And I think people should make use of those kinds of opportunities. Yes. URAS is very good at that.
Yes.
We sometimes help people to write their speeches and help them deliver it. So we do these mock sessions. And we do individual workshops and so on. So Laboucan is busy. I'm staying young because when you're working with young people, you have a choice.
The energy is transferred.
Brenda, they're full of energy. And I really enjoy working with them.
Auntie Ann, yes, you're looking young as ever.
Thank you.
I was about to ask you what you have under the tree up there in Golf Course. But that's all right. It's close. I'm born in Golf Course, so I think I have it. So Laura Lisa Richardson. Oh my God. Laura Lisa say, your song that your Awaken is my theme song here on the buzz. And of course, there's no charge. Laura Lisa can't even say she won't charge GBN or she won't charge me or anything. So, because it's just my way of highlighting one of my favorite Grenadian performers, Laura Lisa Richardson. So deep, so soulful, so rich. So now that you've been a part of this program, first of all, tell us about it. And just as you you have gone through it, Laura, what kind of eye openers have you had? How would this enrich you as a person and as a professional in your business?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Auntie Brenda. Well, just to enlighten on what Auntie Ann said, well, I've been singing for a while without any training, without any guidance, without direction, And this course really opened my eyes into where exactly I want to be, where exactly I want to go in this. Most of the students, we got voice training, performance, where to go on the stage, where to stand. These are things we never knew. Even if we were used to performing, we just never knew. It's just what we knew naturally. And all of these things, they drilled it into us. We did stage plays. It's just been growth. It's been a short 6 months. I would never say it was a long 6 months. It was a very, very, very short 6 months. Some of us say we wish we didn't have to finish. Yeah, it's fun. It's really, really, really fun. And one of the things I left with, I'll be leaving with, is she was doing this class, this self-development class. And that was one of the highlights of that 6 months. For real. Getting to know yourself, getting to understand yourself, appreciate yourself and what you have to offer. Your good and your bad. For real.
Why is that important for you, now that you understand that?
So it's easier to find your place. And then when you accept yourself, then other people can appreciate you as well. Because we do this thing and we doubt ourselves, we can't do this, we can't do that. What if
people?
You have to be yourself. And this is one of the things I'll walk away with from that course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very enlightening. We have had many conversations, so you have no idea how my heart is singing to hear these revelations from you. Well, Auntie Ann, you did well.
We go deep.
If Laura Lisa is the only person that happened with, and I know she's not, you did your job. That is fantastic.
Thank you.
They
do deep self-analysis. It's part of the personal development module. They have to understand personality types, because if you are in the industry, remember, you are dealing with people, lots of people, and the most difficult body to work with are people. So first of all, for you to be successful in your interaction with people as an artist, as a manager, as whatever, you first must have a sense of who you are.
Right.
And in having a sense of who you are able then to work with different personality types, because you see things coming at you and you then begin to say to yourself, every individual has a story and it's not about me.
Correct.
Yeah. So they go through the rigors.
Yeah, man.
Some of them, I enjoy the sessions when we are doing the personality types and they're going around and saying, but that's me. And I'm saying, you'll never see all of you there. So you have to go home, they go with an exercise where they have to spend time alone, quiet time, self-time, me time, and use the tool to dig as deep as they can go to find exactly which components of themselves am I seeing here in this table.
I get a sense from you that you're really enjoying this.
I am. It's the best years of my life. It gives me an opportunity now to, and I think that was the vision of Urias and myself, because our motto in Labucan is the arts is education.
It is.
So we use the arts to teach any subject area. You would be amazed that when the students in some of the programs, for example, has to do math, right? It's a difficult subject for most people, and remember, you're dealing with people at the skills level.
Right.
But one of our instructors, Wizard Elwin McCulkin, you would come into class and see him and the students drumming, and that's how they do fractions, to begin to understand a whole and a half and 1/3. So we use the creative arts to teach any subject area. Our customer service programs are not just sitting in the classroom and talking about how to answer the phone, but it's actually getting involved in scenarios, and we set up people to get things done, and so we use the creative arts. We can use the creative arts to teach anything. When we do the allied health programs, for example, and I have to do the anatomy with people, I break the human system down into the essential services of the country. So, for example, the central nervous system becomes Gren Lake. It's the power point.
Right.
If the power station has no current, everything shuts down.
man.
So the brain becomes going like Central Power Station. So you have to get creative because you're not dealing with people who have PhDs and all of that. But you can get them to the PhD level by being simple.
You're developing critical and analytical thinking there too.
Exactly.
By doing it in that way, because it becomes relatable, and then you're looking at everything, not just the.
So
that's
the
a whole
arts is
PhD
education.
thing now going on. But you've dovetailed right into. There was a lecture only on Tuesday. The Director General of the OECS, Dr. Dudicus Jules, he was here.
Yes.
Guest of UWI Open.
Open campus.
Open Campus and the Grenada Cooperative Bank, they put on this session, and he was talking about education and the new landscape, because the academia and the skills out there just you're not good in academics. Oh, by the way, you'll just learn a skill, but you seem to be developing the whole human.
Yes.
So his recommendations is what you are doing already.
And we're changing the language. There is no such thing as you're not in academics. Whatever you do, it is academical.
He said so.
But you see, we put a label on academics to mean books and degrees and so on. The guy who has to come into your house, the technical person that has to come and hook up all the gadgets, he might not be able to string something on a particular area, but that is his special skill, and he has to know exactly what he's doing. You have to have some academic sense to do it. So we have to stop putting people down and saying skills. The world is now looking at the skilled individual.
Of course.
Not the person with the PhD.
Yeah.
We have too many PhDs walking around with no skills.
Well, they call them functional illiterates. But, so, Laura, Lisa, I mean, I know there are lots of, and only Tuesday, Kate Julian Gutu from NTA, she was here and was talking about, how the government of Grenada, through the SIRE program, certifying 400 young people. And I mean, this is remarkable. This is really remarkable. So, Laura, just give the youngsters and, some sort of message as to why they should get involved.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, once you have a love for culture and you get into this, it will broaden your horizon. Broaden. People like Mrs. Ann Peters and Mr. Urias Peters, they know a lot. They know a lot. Black Wizard, all those the teachers we have down there, they know a lot. And then it was sad when I just started the course. I used to often find myself sad because it's like, Lord, I don't know nothing. I thought I knew. I don't know nothing about what happened in Tivoli and what happened in here. It's like I had a vague understanding.
Right.
Now you see, they go into depth about even how they make the pan, how they make the drum, how they get an understanding of our culture, what happened, where we came from, the reason why we speak how we speak, to appreciate ourselves.
Appreciate ourselves.
Yes, as Grenadians. So I will encourage a lot of the creative people to come out to learn about themselves, learn about yourself, and improve your craft. Because it's not only about liking to sing, you can make money off of it too. So you need the business aspect of it. You need so it's all of these things infused into one. It's not just about the love.
Right.
It's really not. You need to know, you need to develop yourself and be good at it.
The how.
Yes.
The science of it. The science of it.
They all have to develop a business plan.
Yes.
They all have to go out and interview somebody in the industry who is into business. So they have been interviewing people like Mr. Dolan and Mr. Steve Duncan and Wayne Redhead, and so they have to go out and do those interviews. They have to do a lot of research, as I said before. They have to write up different proposals. They work in groups. Well, it's a lot of work. I know in the beginning they felt challenged, particularly when they had to deliver research papers on time.
They like to walk,
In the arts, you have to be challenged.
They don't sleep, so when they wake up, it's walk. Two of them.
But at least she understands the creative mind and how we can be.
It's who she is.
And she will push you.
That's good.
One of the things, the highlights was the play we pulled off at the Spice Basket.
Yes.
Recently. In 4 weeks, we did the archives of Urias Peters.
Spoke so highly of that.
Yes, we shocked ourselves too.
You guys need to do that again.
Well, we have some things in the pipeline.
Because that is the richest homage that you can pay to someone like Urias Peters, while at the same time showing your skills and your development. So that was a real nice fusion there. Who came up with that? You?
Miss Urias always wanted to do this. And this particular group of students was his adrenaline pump.
Nice.
Because working with them, he said, and they can do it, they can do it.
Yeah.
And he pushed them for 4 weeks. Nobody believes these young people started this thing, and they took 4 weeks to do 10 excerpts of Urias's plays. 10.
My
They did the
goodness.
set, they did their own costume, they played their own music, they were double casted on stage. So Laura is a shopkeeper now, and then she has to sing, and Christelle playing the guitar, then she has to move forward to turn into
Right,
another. So they
right.
really worked well, and they worked hard. And this is why I'm proud to announce that because of our assessment of Laura Lisa's additional skills, she is now employed with the Labukan Creative Center as our cultural officer. Because as you know, Urias and I, we need the support, particularly in this specific area, to help us do a lot of things. And we have a
I'm
lot of
so
things in the
happy. I'm so
pipeline.
happy.
We just registered a Calypso tent.
Nice.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about it
Okay,
later
we'll come
on.
back. Yes.
So we're
I
going to
can't
have
wait
at
to
least
see the excitement that's going to be coming out of that.
we're going to have at least 15 young people in the tent with us,
Nice.
inclusive of some older ones. But
Right.
the tent is going to be a theater drama.
Okay,
So it's not
lovely.
just going to be Calypso singing Calypso, but it's
No.
going to be Calypso drama because we want to encourage more young people to keep the art form of Calypso alive.
Alive,
So
yes.
that's our vision.
Beautiful. Well done. I'm not touching you, I'm not hitting you, I'm not nothing. So
Some high fives from across the room.
yeah, namaste. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. I came on very, very late, and I'm so sorry to actually come into the conversation. But I have not been looking at GBN this morning yet. Can you tell me whether? I mean, I have just heard somebody's just sent me a message on my WhatsApp that St. Vincent, Guyana, and Jamaica have recorded their first corona personnel, 3 of them all coming from Britain. Have you received any news? As I said, I don't know whether...
Yes, I saw those on credible online blogs.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, thanks,
All right.
thanks very much. I'm sorry, as I said.
That's okay. That's
Yes.
okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. People would want the information in this
Yeah.
time. Understood.
Critical.
Very critical. Ricardo Keynes Douglas is saying congratulations. This is so needed as a
Hi,
culture
Ricky.
as a culture person. The arts is what is needed in the world. Trust me, we would be a better civilization. I have to agree with that.
Hi, Ricky.
Right. So I gotta love you and leave you.
Yeah, we know.
Congratulations, Laura Lisa. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you.
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you. And Auntie Anne and Uncle Yu at Labukan Creative.
You know you have the
Correct.
correct
For the arts.
pronunciation. I love to hear you when you say it.
Thank you. I try. Is Uncle Yu that teach me to pronounce it? Yeah. And then he tell me what the Bukan is and what they do. You know, it's
That's a history.
A whole history lesson when you meet him.
yeah.
He's a walking museum.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got it.
We don't take
try.
our meanings from whatever. It comes from the Grenadian context when the estate workers in the Buka, in the Bukan, that's where the tools are, that's where the melee start, that's where the gossip is, that's where they have lunch, but that's where the overseer put all the cocoa in nutmeg and whatever in the Bukan.
Right.
It's the storehouse of the creativity of the nation.
And my former principal and English teacher, H.D. Batiste, he always said it's a disrespect to say names and places incorrectly. He always figured you should ask a person how to pronounce their name
And spell it too.
and spell it. You should never take for granted. So I try my best with these things. I don't always get it perfect, but I pay some attention to
Keep
it.
trying. You're doing a good job.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Well, this morning is our culture morning because we have Heritage Theatre next.
Yes,
so they have
yes.
that
Fair
great
enough.
play coming up
Fair
that
enough.
we can't wait to see. And we putting it on before anything play they want to interrupt us. If you know what I mean.
Fedor will handle the virus.
You understand? Good. Depo is saying to Urias and Laura Lisa and the team, I totally enjoyed your last thing. Laugh till I got wind pain. All right.
Oh yes, you missed Laura. Laura was on stage as Butter in the Burial of Miss Faitlin. They did an excerpt.
Oh my God.
And Butter with a difference. You should
Listen,
have seen her.
we're not burying Faitlin. She just keep rising up.
He's doing the second part of it, which
Can't wait.
looks at the wedding between Thelma and what's his name again? Yeah, they get married.
Thelma and them?
Thelma
oh my
and them.
God, that'd be such a riot.
Thelma and Wilfred.
Thelma getting married.
Anyway,
All right.
thanks for stopping by. We take a break. We'll be right back.
The Grenada Airports Authority wishes to advise the general public that the flying of kites within the vicinity of the airport is prohibited. Prohibited areas include, but not limited to, Caliste, Frequency, Fort Judy, St. Paul's, Mount Parnassus, and Mount Morris, and the vicinity of Lauriston Airport in Carriacou. Flying of kites poses serious threat to aircraft safety, as kites can be easily ingested into aircraft engines or become entangled in aircraft propellers, resulting in engine failure with tragic consequences to aircraft passengers and persons on the ground. The Grenada Airports Authority therefore urges the general public to cooperate towards ensuring the safety of aircraft operations into and out of the Maurice Bishop International Airport. The Grenada Airports Authority will be seeking the assistance of the Royal Grenada Police Force in dealing with violators of this notice. Let us all play our part in making this Easter kite flying season a safe one.
See it first on GBN. All the stories, from politics to industrial unrest. Tourism. Light it up. Light it up.
Station to Grenada.
Entertainment. Sports and culture.
Great shot there of Anderson Peters from Grenada, the Commonwealth Games bronze medalist.
See more on GBN, your most credible source for information. Nightly at 7.
Stormport careless or intentional bushfires dead out. Youths, hunters, smokers, let's prevent bushfires. Here's why.
Yeah, bushfires. The shoreline's wet, crops should be bushfires. Can't eat the food, scarcity, threatened biodiversity, cause water shortage, water calamity. Bushfires in watersheds deplete water quality, threaten property, life and security. Bushfires set intentionally, water sanity.
Bushfires can cost millions in losses annually and are often caused by careless or intentional actions indictable under the law. Forests are life-giving. Save them. A message from the Fire Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force and the Caribbean Open Trade Support.
As part of our social media revamp, the GBN is committed on providing accurate information by just one click through our social media platforms. You can now follow our Facebook page at GBN Television, together with our sister stations Classic FM Grenada and Hot FM Grenada. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Grenada Broadcasting Network. They say one picture is worth 1,000 words. Now you have the opportunity to follow us on Instagram at GBN_news and our newly added WhatsApp feature to our news and current affairs department on telephone number 473-405-3052. GBN, with you, anywhere, everywhere.
To the mid-morning buzz. As you are well aware, all of Grenada must be aware now that we are eagerly anticipating the bringing to the stage of Julien Fedor. The play, of course, is going to be produced and directed. It is being produced by Heritage Theatre Company, of course, written and directed by our renowned playwright, Christopher DeRades. And we have two esteemed folks from Heritage Theatre, actor actors. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Mr. Brzezinski, an actor? Yes. That's a bit of a surprise. So we welcome Mr. Andrew Brzezinski and Miss Neela Etienne to the program this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If I can correct you, I would say aspiring actor. I don't think I'm an actor yet.
Right, aspiring. Right, and as you say that, though, I mean, how did they get you? What brought you to the stage?
Honestly, I suppose a moment of madness would be the answer to that. Chris DeRiggs, the director, approached me and asked me to consider it. My question to him was, well, why me? I've never done anything like this before. And his response was, well, he has an eye for this sort of thing, and he thinks he has a role for me to play. I promised him I'd think about it, and honestly, I did not. He handed me a script, said, read it. I read the script, and I thought, nah. And then he came back about a week later and said, I said, Chris, I need the weekend. And I thought about it, and then I thought, you know what? I've never done anything like this before. Why not? Try anything once almost. And so here I am. It was as simple as that. A moment of madness, as I say, loss of sanity.
I mean, if I may, when we were trying to cast the play, I guess I kind of had like first dibs on, which character. He said, Neela, so you want to act this time around? Because the last production I did with Heritage, I was the stage manager and I did sound, I was in backstage. I said, working on my directing credits and, stage management. And he's like, you want to be on stage? And I was like, no, none of the roles, spoke to me in any way. And then he said, well, you need to help me cast this play. We have, how much of us? 15 of us on stage. And we need, these roles are big, big roles because it's a historical piece. And of course, we want to get, we want to typecast as much as possible because we want these actors to mimic and resemble these real people. And Brzezinski, I mean, man, we talked about miracles outside in the lobby, and I mean, you're the first. When he finally decided to take the role, and he came in and we did a reading, and my eyes opened. I was like, where did this voice come? Like his voice. Look, I'm getting chills right now because his voice. And I told him this, and I was like, man, you have a really nice voice. He has the baritone. It's beautiful. So hearing him and seeing his stature on stage, and the other day he put on his rehearsal jacket, and I was like, man, you looking fly, he looked the part.
So y'all just sell 100 more tickets because people want to see what Mr. Vision.
Well, so we hope. You're all putting me on spot here. No easy.
But Mr. Brzezinski, you have this is a historical piece, and I'm sure, being, you're in Grenada, through your company, you put on all these tours, and so you must have a great historical perspective. And perspective is really important as the company puts on this piece. So kind of talk to us about coming up through that time. Here we are, 1795, but there are things that precipitated that. Yeah. So speak to us about that period.
Well, it's actually a really interesting part of Grenada's history, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't know enough about it. I mean, they may know the name Julian Fédon, but I don't think that we have a full appreciation of what was happening because of all these struggles that were taking place in Europe. A lot of this was about land grabs in the New World, as they called it. And the French had been here since 1650, so they had almost an uninterrupted 100 years of occupation. And then the British discovered Grenada, sort of, and we changed hands between 1750 and 1783 times. So there was a lot of competition. Now, the first 100 years was very difficult for the French, and the attempts to settle the first few ones actually literally failed, and the island was hard. But by the time 1750s rolled around, it had begun to make sense, and therefore there was this thing, this competition. Now, back then, as I like to say, men were men. when the French were in control, you had French culture. This is why we have all the French names. Hermitage, Hermitage, we call it. Grand Dance was Grand Anse, Pointe Saline, Lance aux Épines. You just go on and on with all the French names, La Sagesse, because they had been here for so long that they imprinted that.
Right.
When we finally, after the Treaty of Versailles, 1783, reverted to British control and remained so until independence, the names were so ingrained that they really couldn't change it. Goave was known as Goave, which was the French, but it was actually called Charlottetown, named after the then English queen. That name didn't stick. But once 1783 passed by, the reprisals, in other words, the French were being made to pay for the losses of the British, the perceived losses, and they were taking land.
Right.
And they were happy to seize people's property on flimsy or any excuse. And so this caused resentment, and it led to that. Now, a couple of curious things. On the 4th of July, 1779, it was the last French takeover of Grenada by Admiral d'Estaing. Now, they landed north of what we call St. George now. I'm not sure exactly where, Grand Mall, Beauséjour. They traveled overland and came down what we call the St. Paul's Road.
Okay.
They stormed over those hills, and really the British were sleeping. How the British managed it, because we were changing all the time, they weren't noticed. Now, they took out the fort, Mrs. William, at the old fort. Once they grabbed that fort, they attacked up the hill behind us here from GBN. So they got the back of the fort.
Okay.
Because that fort has a wall that goes all the way over River Road and looks out towards the sea and Queen's Park. It covered that area. It also covered the town of St. George. So all they did was turn the guns on Fort George, and it was game over.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's what happened.
I've heard that story about turning the...
They turned the guns.
Oh, my goodness.
So once that happened, now the French then built Fort Matthew, which is the old lunatic asylum. The guns of that actually point east, and that's why they call it back to front fort. The guns point eastward overland. But that was a waste of time and money, because at the Battle of the Saints is when Admiral Lord Nelson he sank the French West Indies Armada, lost his life, but Grenada reverted to French control. The English decided that the French would pay for that. And so they were taking land, they were doing things. Two interesting things happened that we don't address. One of them was the fact that when the reprisals started, many of the French Creoles actually left Grenada. Grenada was growing cocoa, good high quality cocoa, something we still do but we don't do enough of. But they were growing volumes of cocoa in Trinidad, so that a lot of the landowners here had property in Trinidad.
Right.
They took their slaves, their house slaves, with them to Trinidad. The field slaves, what they did as a parting gift to the British is something that has served us well over the years, is they freed the field slaves and they gave them the land. Now, if they did not do that, that land would have reverted to the British Crown.
Right.
So the consequence of that was that suddenly they were faced with all these freed slaves that had land.
Owned property.
Back then, property was the qualifier. You had property, you were somebody. In fact, we refer to, they call them people of worth. You had worth. That actually, land ownership has stayed with us and was one of the reasons that there was some rejection in the 79 to 83 experiment, because people had land, they were talking about collectivization. And it was like, hello? So that has stayed with us.
That makes sense, because in our socialization, status is based on the property.
It's based on property, and which is a good thing for Grenada in a lot of ways, because in most of the other islands there was more of the color divide. Here we fortunately got away from that, but it was a status thing. I had property, I had land, I had value. You could be everybody, anybody accepted you. Now that led to the rise of Julian Fedor.
Right. So that's why that uprising was so popular.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
people were angry that
People were angry, they were grabbing their things. He also promised to emancipate the slaves.
Right.
Notwithstanding the fact that as a mulatto, he actually was a slave owner himself. And his father was a slave owner. And sadly enough, slavery was just part for the core. It was, it was one of those things. People had slaves. Some were worse than others. The French actually treated, as best as we can determine, their slaves better than the British. The British stuck to themselves, but the Frenchmen actually married and freed slaves, had children with them. There were more mulattoes in French society than there were in the British societies. So there was that there. And that was cause in its own right for Fedor's rebellion and a justification. But then he was upsetting the established order, so he became public enemy number one. But I don't want to. I will stop now.
See, another reason why Mr. Brzezinski is on the cast, he has such...
I mean, I am riveted because I have delved a lot into it. It's intriguing.
It is intriguing.
It's a part of our history that really grabs me. And I mean, through the course of these interviews with you guys, and I mean, what have you shared here this morning is just really enlightening.
And you're learning so much, and this is such a great opportunity for the persons who shy away from history. Even the actors, like for me, like maybe a wall came up why I didn't want to take one of the roles because it's a historical piece, and you treat historical pieces in a way that, I mean, you need time
almost
with
reverence.
the material. You need time with the material. You need you need to pay respect to this kind of these people, and so that this is an educational experience for the patrons who will be coming in and for the actors themselves. Some of us are younger ones playing the older characters like myself, and I never dreamt of playing a role like this before. I have played, mature roles, and I think this one is special because it's making me dig deeper.
Right.
I have this monologue that I've been, not fighting with so much, but it has been taking me to this place that I never knew existed.
Right.
Last night I came off stage and I was almost in a trance and I started to cry, and I'm like, okay,
Really?
it's so deep. And we talk about, like, the first ad we had, it talked about me seeing blood, and my character Ayanti, she's a leader, she's a visionary, she has power that she doesn't even know she has, and this kind of thing, it makes me want to delve more. It makes me want to be on stage more, and that passion is coming out even more. And I know when my students see me on stage, they won't see Mace, they'll see a different being on stage. It's coming from this deep and spiritual place that I did not even know existed.
I know that you have your master's degree in performing arts, Neela, and I mean, just talking to Mrs. Peters earlier, this morning is a great morning for that kind of conversation. Just how much the arts can propel, our society, our community, develop our young people. So, just give us some.
Well, I mean, I started with the Arts Festival, and I think that was a platform that everybody, who had the opportunity can still testify. And I would always give the story about Mr. Killer. We used to compete in poetry, creative poetry, and I remember the last time we competed together, we were in the finals, and he was backstage, and you could see him. You really want the creative poetry section, and that's where I met Mr. Killer many years ago. And look where he is today. And I would always give that story to my students. So if you don't see me as that person, think of Mr. Killer. He started in the Festival of the Arts.
That's where I first saw him too. St. John's RC School. Team Marisha House.
Yep. We were in the one on my convent. Norton Hall. That's where our performances used to be. And I mean, teaching theater now, I've been working with Presentation Brothers College, and I do have a young company as well. So I do workshops. Last year I did a workshop with children. I'm very much an advocate for theater for youth, because I think that is a springboard for magical things. I've been doing some puppetry work, characterizations, and so on. My students have been exposed to masks and so on, and it's interesting because we all walk around with all these stories. And some of we're hiding behind a mask, and some of us who want that avenue, we want to express ourselves, and we don't get that opportunity. So teaching these kids, is helping me to bring out the best in them. And I think a lot of them are really realizing, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I really want to perform. You know, and we need to allow students to have that creative space.
And create the spaces for us to be able to show it.
And I mean, we're creating a lot of avenues too for these young people. And we have a special offer for students. And if students come with their class, I know my history class is coming. All my theater students are coming. We have students from Anglican High School, Grenville Convent, St. Joseph's Convent, St. George. We're all coming to witness this beautiful historical piece that will be on stage end of March. March 28th and 29th. And of course the first weekend in April 4th and 5th. It's going to be a good one.
It's buzzing. It's really buzzing. It's
gonna be a good
really,
one.
really, really buzzing. So, Mr. Wyszynski, what role are you playing?
You have to come to the play to see that. No, I'm Governor Home.
Give us a
I'm Governor Home.
All right.
I am a governor.
That's all?
Oh, I'm a governor who gets taken out, I will add. But yes, I'm a governor. I am a tyrant. I don't know if that's what they spotted in me when they were spotting. But that's the role that I play. So it's actually interesting. And you know, history sometimes can be ugly. And so at the core of the play is really a tough and brutal part of the history of Grenada.
Absolutely.
And not that we portray any ugliness, because it's been very well done, but some of the subject matter, you know, is less than totally pleasant.
And you can't water things like
but
that
you can't
down.
water it down. I like to say that, you know, history, and I'm not talking about this period, but history generally can actually be very ugly, but it is history. And so I have a lot of difficulty sometimes with people who try to sugarcoat and bury it.
Tell us as it is.
Tell us as it is. And this is a fairly, you know, good portrayal of a period that, you know, in many respects has sort of been swept under the table. Oh, we had a revolution, we had a this, it's swept under the table.
But we don't really know.
We don't know. Not enough has been researched into it.
Right.
And this is a historical drama, because there is drama, but it has a basis in actual facts. And as Neela says, there's some difficulties there, because the characters have to, in their own imagination, with the material we have, with the knowledge that we have, dredge up and be these individuals. And so, you know, you got to come see the show.
I think Heritage has done, Christopher Duriggs has done a remarkable job in you know, scripting this story. And I know this story, and when he told me he was writing a new play, I was like, okay, cool. You know, I thought it was going to come a few months after breaking out. But this play was written like in a very short space of time, because one night he said, Neela, I went home and I wrote 5 scenes, and I'm like, what? Whoa, you know, because it's been on his heart for a while, and it's a different genre too. Heritage is known for the comedic pieces with Robert White is in the production. Dillian Walters is in the production. And Dillian is a comedian, but he's playing a doctor in this one. You know, it's a very serious piece of work, and I think it's pertinent. It's needed for not just the children who will see the play, but the adults. You know, they will relive something, you know, that they've read about. And I think this is an important piece for Heritage Theatre, because it's not a comedy, but it's a historical piece that we need to tell Grenada about.
Sounding as if, you know, even for you, the accomplished actors, he's drawing on parts of you that you didn't even really know yourself, just based on the experience you recounted a while ago that you had last night.
Well, I'm pulling a lot from Viola Davis, from The Help, because she played this maid, and she's taking care of a white family, and she also has her family at home to take care of, you know, and a lot of elements from this story. I'm like, I'm taking care of this family, Julian Fedon's family, but I also still have my baggage. I'm a slave. I have, you know, like I still have relationship thing, you know, and I mean, the story doesn't talk about me having children, you know, but what do I have? What's mine? What do I auntie have to, what am I living for? Just taking care of this family, but I still have to take care of myself, So it's a lot. It's heavy, but I think it's going to be an amazing piece. And I'm encouraging all of Grenada to come out, or the students are on board, so parents, come with your child.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you, Brenda, for this opportunity. I know you've been seeing a lot of different faces, and, she was spreading the word about Julien Fedon. And I want to thank GBN and Grenada Cooperative Bank. They were title sponsors, and I think it's important. The community is supporting this work. The business community, they're supporting this work, and I think that's also very, very important to note.
Good. Someone is saying on Facebook, wishing Heritage, Chris and his team all the best for their courage and boldness in bringing a snippet on stage by unfolding this historical blanket, patched with the richness of who we are and have become as a people. Temper, temerity, and tenacity.
Nice.
That's a wonderful comment.
Nice. Thank you so much for that comment.
One little thing I want to add in here, because they talk about who we are and what we are. I said men were men. One of the reprisals of the English against the French, a lot of people don't know this, but the Anglican Church on Church Street in St. George's began its life as a Catholic church. They dispossessed them of that, which is how the cathedral was built. The same thing happened in Soteres. And here is an unanswered question. If the Catholics were here and built the churches first, the Anglican Church in Soteres, the site was, in fact, a Catholic church. They moved to the other side of the hill. And here is a proverbial question I want to leave. At the time in 1651, that the Caribs were driven to the north end of the island, and that's not entirely correct in that tale, and were thrown, jumped, or whatever over the cliff. A Catholic church was built. The question is the site where the Catholic Church is now acknowledged as Caribs Leap, was that really the site of the Caribs Leap? I don't think so. It's where the Anglican Church was, in all likelihood, because that's where the Catholic Church was. So there are things that connect this whole tale that go straight over the top of our heads. And I've actually asked two historians about that. One said it was an interesting hypothesis. John Angus Martin, I asked him at the launch of his book, and he told me, well, he's not sure. When I read his book, he raised the same question, and I asked him, I said, Angus, what happened here? He said, I want you to read the book. So it's one of those things. So some of our history, because the Victor writes the history, so the English wrote the history. And I know we're running out of time.
Perspective again.
So there are a lot of little things in there that have tweaked my interest. And as you say, it's, or the person who wrote in said, it's an interesting period of Grenada's history that has not been totally explored, and perhaps we can encourage the next generation to pay a little more attention.
Right.
Absolutely.
And any good dramatic piece, any story should leave the viewers questioning and wanting more.
And finding
out, going home and doing your homework.
And yes, it's 100 and something odd years later, but I mean, it's not too late to fix.
It's not too late.
That's not a long time.
Not too late.
Not a long time. I aim in for 100 myself.
And that's great. I mean, Mr. Brzezinski, I think you bring you would bring to your role the knowledge that you have.
Indeed.
And because of a time that you understand too well what led up, how it, and everything. So you would bring a richness. You're not playing the role in a vacuum.
Right.
So you would bring a richness to that. That is so critical. Well, that's exciting. So I gotta let you leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you'll have us back.
Yes. There's more before we get there. So just tell us the ticket prices.
All right. So ticket prices are $40, and again, we're on March 28th and 29th, and April 4th and 5th, $40 for adults, and students pay $20 at the door.
Okay.
And if you have a group of students coming, don't be afraid to contact us. We have a special deal for students coming with their teachers as a part of a class. Beautiful.
Someone is saying here, Chris's next work should be on S.A. Francis, and I need a role in that. They say if Mr. Brzezinski can play Who Is Me?
Well, there you go. No, I mean, people can get the courage, and so this is good. I never in almost my wildest dreams ever perceived or conceived myself in this.
Right.
And as I said, when Chris asked me, hey, Chris, you're losing it. Why me?
Right.
But
he
you know,
said,
but like what you were saying outside, you have a better appreciation for the art now because you're seeing it come together.
Yes.
You're seeing the mystery, the drama unfold. So you're seeing the set pieces come together, and I know you're hearing my voice a lot because I'm the stage manager as well. You know, so when I give you a line note, you have to go back and check your lines and so on. But it's a holistic development.
A quick comment on that, as I told Neela. I've been to plays, and what I see is the front end, the finished product. I now have an opportunity to see the back end when the creativity is going into it, where some of the script has changed, where actors actually add in what they're comfortable with, what they think adds to it. The director says no or says yes. So that whole creative process is something that I had zero idea about. So I have a whole new appreciation for what goes into it, and that to me has been revealing, and that in itself has been worthwhile.
Nice. Thank you very much. I think this whole process has been really worthwhile. Congratulations again to Christopher DeRiggs and Heritage Theatre Company. Kojo, you did good. You did good. You did good.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Thank you, ma'am. Real pleasure.
Thank you. And ATM.
Thank you so much.
We told we can't shake hands, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll blow you a kiss.
Thank you so very much. So we've been talking to representatives of Heritage Theatre Company, Mr. Andrew Bajinski. He's going to be on stage, and Miss Neela Etienne. And that the performance is happening on the 28th and the 29th of March and the 4th and 5th of April at the Grenada Trade Center. Go on out and get your tickets today. So that's it for the Mid-Morning Buzz. Stay tuned. The midday edition of news is up next on Classic FM. I'm Brenda. So long.